Well, isn't this exciting? Yes, after years of hiding behind the camera and behind the keyboard, I'm finally taking centre stage, just briefly, to bring you the first in what I hope will be a series of video reviews of this year's Doctor Who episodes. They'll be hopefully coming weekly to our page and also to the YouTube channel, to which you may like and subscribe. Why video reviews and why now? People seem to like them. They seem to be fairly popular, and it's something I've never done before, so I thought I'd give it a go. It also gives you a chance to hear my humble views in a new format, hopefully not bogged down by too many unwanted ads or gratuitous product placement.
Can I stop now?
Please do.
Also, I implore you to please ignore the artwork on the wall. My wife and I have 4 children. Here's a disclaimer. If you already read my blog, then some of what I'm about to say is going to be familiar because there's going to be a lot of copy and pasting. Yes, I am reading from a script. That's inevitable. I will try and mix it up with appropriate clips and photos, and I'm also going to be moving around a bit, like this. See?
This is going to be fun.
This week, we're going to be looking at The Woman Who Fell to Earth. Never before in the history of Doctor Who, perhaps, has there been quite so much anticipation, hype, and build-up over the casting of a new Time Lord. So, the question on everybody's lips today is, was it worth the wait? And the answer to that is a categorical yes. And no. Certainly, your reaction to it is likely to vary according to what you were hoping for and what you were expecting. Those of you who were sceptical may have found yourselves pleasantly surprised. Those of you who couldn't abide the idea of a female doctor and were resolutely determined to hate it, you probably did. I don't even know that this is for you, to be honest. Go on, go away. Go and kick a puppy or something, whatever it is you do.
Eat my salad.
The series opener sees Jodie Whittaker's recently regenerated Doctor literally crash land in the middle of Sheffield on a train playing host to a thing that looks like a swivel monster from Fear Her. But fear not. There are no discontented cats or awkward comedy TARDIS parking here. In fact, there's no TARDIS at all. And that's just as much the case at the end of the episode as it was at the beginning. For those of you panicking, don't worry. They spent a lot of money on the new one and they got really angry when it leaked, so it will turn up sooner or later. It's like that penknife you lost.
Only idiots carry knives.
Before we move on, let's get the elephant out of the TARDIS and back into his paddock. Jodie Whittaker is fine. It takes her a while to warm up, but that's typical post-regeneration. And by the time she announces both to a sneering extraterrestrial and the world in general that she is the Doctor, from the top of a windswept crane no less, we are ready to believe her. There aren't many surprises. She plays the role in exactly the manner you might expect her to, based on the available trailer footage and the recently unveiled preview clip that no one watched when it was leaked, honest. There is an intense, Tennant-like quality to her manic gesticulations and babbling monologues, infused and distracted and simultaneously comfortable around people in a way that Smith's and Baker's Doctors never were. And while she will undoubtedly make the role her own sooner or later, it is the 10th Doctor that she currently seems to be channeling. It is deeply symbolic in a way that the first time we encounter her, she has just fallen through a roof.
Oops.
The plot, such as it is, concerns an alien warrior who has come to Earth in order to ascend the career ladder by picking off a randomly designated human. It's a microcosmic predator in Sheffield. Said alien is dressed in one of Iron Man's cast-offs and has the distinct advantage of being able to kill anyone he touches thanks to an extremely low body temperature. He has 100 facial piercings, all made with human teeth, and has an unorthodox mode of transport, given that the first time we see him he's emerging from a gigantic Hershey's kiss in the middle of a warehouse. If I'm not exactly selling this to you, it's because the monster of the week, or at least this week, is perhaps the least engaging aspect of the story, and perhaps that's not a bad thing. It's certainly not atypical when you view it in the context of the show. Prisoner Zero wasn't much to look at either, and the Sycorax were mind-numbingly dull. So it is here. Tim Shaw is the same old run-of-the-mill warrior type we've seen 100 times before, a one-dimensional non-entity with few redeeming features and a face that quite literally sets your teeth on edge. A slight Machiavellian streak is about the only thing he's got working in his favour, and it would have been interesting to find out exactly why this dark-suited Goliath feels the urge to cheat in a competition when his physiology already gives him a strong tactical advantage. As it stands, Tim Shaw's underhand tactics merely provide a convenient wall for the Doctor to use when she's bouncing off a few quips about morality.
No! Short-range teleport! Double cheat!
The new Doctor assembles a new sonic screwdriver in 30 seconds flat, courtesy of a hammer and tongs montage that couldn't be more A-team if you stuck Mike Post underneath it. One thing that strikes you about The Woman Who Fell to Earth is that up to a point it's grounded in authenticity. Chibnall has spoken about the idea of family, and in the opening story this idea manifests in a literal or semi-blended sense, with Bradley Walsh and Sharon D. Clarke providing surrogate parenting roles for the bumbling but promising Ryan. Ryan is curious, sincere, and can't ride a bike. He's dyspraxic, and at the moment they're portraying that with relative sensitivity, instead of using it as a gimmick. Long may that continue, because otherwise you know he gets to be the clumsy one. Joining Ryan is probationary police officer Yasmin and the aforementioned Bradley Walsh, who is great fun, as we knew he would be. He's a bit like Brian Williams in Grouch mode, although there is room for some significant development. Sadly, Sharon D. Clarke's role seems to be little more than a plot point. Her character exists solely so that she can get killed off at the episode's climax. She's the sort of would-be adventurer that Graham simply is not, and it's very likely that he's going to spend the rest of the series channeling into her gung-ho spirit.
Is it wrong to be enjoying this?
Yes!
The episode may be full of real people doing real things, but there is a tedious amount of fourth wall breaking. We were promised that gender wouldn't be a factor, and to a great extent it isn't, but we do get a couple of worthy but dull monologues from the Doctor about moving on.
And I have to hold my nerve and trust all these new instincts.
The nods to fandom couldn't have been more obvious if she'd been sitting in an interviewer's armchair reading out tweets.
All right. Rude.
There is much to like in here, even if it's somehow less than the sum of its parts. The new filters lend the show a grand, film-like quality that quite becomes it. Sheffield, which I've never visited, has seldom looked so impressive even if we mostly see it at night. Likewise, incumbent composer Sigun Akinola, and I hope I pronounced that right, has learned the lesson Murray Gold never did, namely that less is more. Ambience soaks through the episode without ever overstating its point, and I can't be the only one grateful that the stirring, overwritten melodic themes and piano and string-driven moments of overwrought pathos are finally done and dusted, with Grace's funeral and Ryan's emotional YouTube monologue delivered in calm, dignified silence. The new theme, of course, has raised eyebrows. Some people like it, including me, but others are less convinced. I sent it to an old friend of mine, who I will quote here occasionally because he has quite a way with words. He said, "It sounds like someone's unsuccessfully trying to learn to make music by rubbing their finger around the rim of a wine glass while failing to keep time with a sibling practicing the drum for the Army Cadets Parade." It was never going to be perfect, but that's fine. This is a good, solid start that gets it right more than it gets it wrong. If you're a little disappointed, that's probably to be expected because post-regeneration stories are notoriously patchy, ranging from The 11th Hour, which was brilliant, to Time and the Rani, which was utterly abhorrent. The Woman Who Fell to Earth probably sits somewhere in the middle. It's the Castrovalva of intro stories. And Castrovalva starred Peter Davison, who went on to become one of my favourite Doctors. I call that a win.
You had no right to do that.
And that's all we have time for this week. We leave you with the news that over at Zygon HQ, trouble is brewing when Bonnie tries a Windows 10 upgrade. And following a tip-off about possible episodes of Marco Polo stored in a Sussex garage, exclusive phone camera footage emerges showing both Philip Morris and Ian Levine racing to get there first. Until next time, goodbye.